Hello, welcome, Caps fans. This is the Blue Liner on Point with, yes, another segment of our recap for 2026 for a one-on-one interview. And so this is another segment where we take a listener and get their perspective, their take based on several prepared questions I have. Um, so just to go over that, we've already done one with Robbie Gross. If you haven't listened to that already by this time, but here's another. So our guest for this go around, well, hopefully if you've been listening regularly and paying attention to the show, at least for this season, you know her as Miss Jindependent. She is also in real life Jini Clausen. Jini, how you doing this evening?
I'm pretty good. And yourself?
Thank you for asking. I am a bit rough around the edges, but surviving. So,
And it's
um,
only Tuesday.
and it is only Tuesday, fortunately or unfortunately. But this episode is not about me, not in the least. So, once again, let me explain the format here in case you are curious. What I am about to do, I am about to pose several questions I have prepared for our autopsy style breakdown of what happened this season. I will offer no feedback, no argument, no discussion from my perspective at all. This is not about me. This is not about what I have to offer. You've heard me go on and drone on this whole bloody season. It's time you listen to others. Uh, pardon me. So you will hear Ginny's thoughts and opinions backed up, as I'm pretty sure, by a lot of facts as well. Um, And after said questions, we'll offer up to 10 minutes or more of a chance for her to expound on other aspects that may or may not have been covered by the questions. So let us begin. First question I have. Okay, so I'll pose it this way. Last season, this very same team, with largely the same roster, finished at the top of the NHL's Eastern Conference standings. This season, they struggled for a good part, for entire months. What, in your mind, was the difference between last season and this season?
I would say the key piece is PLD's injury. I think having him out really underscores just how much of a playmaker he is and just how important he is to chemistry across the board. I think that's probably, like, personnel wise, the missing piece would be that. And then you throw in the struggles of, I would say that, everyone struggled with inconsistency, but McMichael and Strome are like the top two for me that really underachieved compared to last year. I think that we are incredibly lucky that Sortif did as well as he did. Like, he was a key piece to getting us close when Dubois was out. But I do not think it is a coincidence that immediately things started looking better once Dubois returned to the lineup. I think,
Okay.
I think that's the biggest piece.
All right. So Dubois' absence being the difference from last year and this year. Okay.
Yeah.
To sum up. All right. So my next question. Watching the team over the course of the season, how do you think the team looked from game to game to game? What would be your commentary on on that, on how they performed across the games individually?
I think that was the absolute most frustrating part, is because from night to night, it looked like we had completely different teams. It wasn't even like, oh yeah, we're a mid team and we're kind of struggling through the whole way. No, it was either we look fantastic and I can't figure out why we lost the last 3 games, or we look like absolute garbage and what is going on. I think the complete it was so extreme and it was so varied, and you never knew which team was going to come out that night, which was like the absolute most frustrating thing about this season.
All right, very well. So consistency, you would say, was easily the problem, maintaining that from game to game.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, when you're a new team, or when you're a team primarily of rookies, thinking like, okay, San Jose Sharks, you expect that inconsistency because it's a bunch of kids and they're figuring out, they're going from college hockey. And yes, we do have a lot of younger, but no one outside of Leonard. And I would say his inconsistency was mostly in response to others and the injury and him gaining his confidence back about that. But like with a team like the Sharks, you expect inconsistency because they're all like fresh out of college. They're all kids. This team, they don't have that excuse because they all played together last year. So, yeah.
Okay, very good. So something of a curveball I have for you, but it is kind of more along the lines of what your perspective is, where you come from, which is numbers and statistics. Um, but I am going to make it a little difficult here. Outside of special teams, which I think the fan consensus is for the majority of the season, it was dreadful.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would argue that. But outside of special teams, what would you say was the key team statistic that affected this team for better or for worse? And I'll kind of give you a little bit of a bone here. If not a team statistic, then an individual one amongst certain players. So if you need some time to chew on that, that's fine. But that what I'm looking for is a key statistic or group of key statistics that was the most telling outside of special teams.
Let's see. Um, I'm not quite. I mean, when I'm looking at individual players, it's just that there were so many who didn't get close to playing as well as they did last year. Um, so when I'm looking at like, you know, Strome got 18 this year compared to 29 last year. McMichael got 14 this year compared to 26 last year.
Okay, so we're talking about goals, just to
oh yeah,
just to
sorry,
clarify.
goals. Yeah, goals. And whether that was the difference of confidence or not. I mean, it's so hard to, because analytics throughout most of the year were like in 5-on-5, you know, we are underachieving compared to what the stats say that we should be doing. And I think a lot of that is not crashing the net. It's not being hungry in the way that other teams have been. And, you know, when you look at like the last, I mean, if we look at, you know, the last 4 games, the majority of those goals were like messy crash the net instances. And I don't know why they're not doing that when it's obviously being effective. I mean, I think that really, that's kind of the underachievement of some of the players we expected to perform is really where like the shortfall hits for me. Outside of that, I'm not sure like if you have a specific stat in mind or
Well, no, just to re-clarify, not for me, not
yeah.
not from my perspective, but if you were to have a chance to look at the broad spectrum, not just analytical data, although that might be the most telling, but all of the basic traditional metrics and the analytics for this season anyway. What is there? Would there be anything that pops out aside from special teams and said, you know what, this figure here more or less defines their season and why things went the way they went? If that helps.
It's hard because all I think about when we talk about that is our awful power play, and it's so prominent in my mind and in the frustration that taking that off the table kind of leaves me thinking, well, I don't know. Like that's so in the forefront of mine, and I know most people's um frustration, because we had the goaltending. I mean, Logan ended top 6 in the league, and that was with, you know, some pretty inconsistent defense in front of him. So there are so many things that were there and that should have been there that just kind of fell apart on things like the power play and things like not showing up and making the effort game to game.
So let me rephrase once more, because you did hit on a few metrics that were key. I'm no expert. Again, I can only offer my perspective, which is I'm no expert on it. I'm pretty far from it. I am familiar with things such as expected goals for and things like that. I'm still not quite sure how one arrives at that. I have some idea, but not completely.
Right.
But you did hit upon a few things that would have affected it. But I would, I can accept the answer that aside from special teams, there may not have been one or even a cluster of metrics that jumps out. So I can accept the answer that special teams probably was the key, pardon me, to this team's fortunes. I'm not going to say it's a wrong answer. It's not a wrong answer. There are no wrong answers here. But I think you expressed. I'm straying a little too far from my purpose. I apologize, but I just
No,
want to.
no, it's fine. So sometimes I just need very direct questions in terms of what you're looking for, so that I can figure out what what I'm looking at.
Right, right, and in the world of statistics, it's a little bit. It's facts and figures. It's numbers, but
Right.
my perspective again is, and I'm trying not to inject myself too much here, but it's you have to marry that to what actually happened.
Right. Well,
But
so
I think
thinking about like what I was talking about with crashing the net, like high danger shots, I would say would be something where we were significantly short most of the season.
and that again is except I didn't see. I wasn't even thinking of something like that. My mind immediately would go to, and I think most who are familiar with analytics would go straight to expected goals for.
Right.
But yes, so that I would.
Right. And so part of it for me with some of the expected goals for, or the expected, some of that, if I don't understand how they have the number, I don't like to look at it because, well, I mean, I look at it in terms of like, but in terms of my own personal analysis, I'm like, if I don't understand how they fully get that number, then I just look at the things that I see making a difference. So I'm like, that's one of those things where I need, like, because I'm a numbers person, I'm like, I need a formula in front of me so that I can see exactly what, exactly how they're getting that. Because all I can compare it to is, okay, how did they do last year versus this year? How did this specific uh, specific player perform? What types of thoughts are they doing? uh, and converting on versus what are they consistently doing and failing at, and yet keep trying and repeating the same errors. And when I just think of like, the number of like high danger chances that other teams didn't get because LT was just playing out of his mind, versus the number of times where we are taking these like safe shots that don't go in because no one screened the goalie. And like, I don't know. I don't think I'm being very eloquent here, but
On the contrary,
okay.
I was just about to follow up and say that, or pose this. So if I was to say to you, or if I were to return it to you and say and ask you, would you say that the combination between the failure that was the special teams and the if you can quantify it, the lack of aggression
Yeah.
for scoring chances,
Yeah.
would you agree that between those two things, those were probably the two key metrics that defined what we saw this year from the Capitals?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it.
Okay, that's fair. All right. So, other than those things, the Dubois injury, and the consistency, uh, did you notice anything else that occurred along the season that you would point to and say, well, this is what went wrong, this is what cropped up, and this was a problem that they could not just could not correct?
I think that some of the, and I know different teams just have different styles in terms of how they enter the zone, how they defend, and things like that. But the excessive dump and chase kills me because it seems like we're giving up possession unnecessarily. And if you're going to play that way, then you need to be able to dump it and get possession back. And so often I just don't feel like we were doing that. But also aggression in the defensive zone. I feel like the other team gets the puck and our D just kind of goes, okay, and we back off and go the other way. Whereas so many other teams pressure when we're in the offensive zone and they end up taking it away. And I just wish that we would be more aggressive in terms of pressure in our zone rather than just letting everyone skate in and around and play their game versus forcing them to play ours.
So building on that, would you call all of that, everything that you just described, do you think it's more a result of a coaching and or management choice, or is it the players deciding to display that style from game to game? Or is it both?
I would venture that it's a combination of the two. However, it always starts at the coaching because they're going to play like they practice, and for the most part. And if you are, running your plays a certain way in practice and drilling whatever, specific coach you're working with at the time, and of course that doesn't always go to plan during games. However, I think that with as prevalent it is in terms of our style of play, there's no way it's not originating with a style that those coaches prefer.
Okay, so I'm trying my best not to put you on the spot. What obviously special teams will be a concern, but what, including that, what would you expect to improve with the projected lineup that will go into next season?
I mean, obviously, power play has to be like immediate fix. And I am very positive about that, given how much improvement we have seen in just since Huddy has been on board. And that's his first, 14 games in the NHL where he's still like adjusting and figuring stuff out. So like if he can make such a difference immediately, I have great hope that it will be even better next year as he continues to get comfortable and build chemistry with all the lines and as everyone else, adjusts around that. I think that is the biggest thing that absolutely has to change. And as a fan, I want to see that immediately next season. Like it, I love I love Carberry. I love Coach Carbs. I think he's fantastic. I think he is really good at pulling the best out of everybody. But the biggest frustration I had with him this season was the constant, yeah, we'll look at it and we'll see what can be done with the power play. Like that's fine in the first 10 games of the season, but there's 82 games and there's going to be 84 next year. And I don't want it like I don't want that kicked down the road. I want that like changed and handled immediately.
Okay,
I also, I mean,
sorry.
obviously am I?
No. Keep going.
Oh, okay. On the defensive end, it's going to be interesting to see how that looks in general, especially now knowing that Sandin is going to be out at the beginning of the season and for who knows how long. That makes me a little nervous, especially because I've been very clear that I think it's long past time for TVR to be gone. As wonderful as he seems to be as a person, I'm very done with him as a defender, and I'm very nervous that now they're going to extend him, knowing that Sandin is going to be out for a while.
So slightly transitioning from that, given that last bit of information you provided, what would you say is a top priority, or perhaps there's a group of priorities that management should focus on now that they have the off season in front of them to try to improve the team?
Right. I mean, obviously, a depth top 6 scorer. I mean, I would imagine the same thing that everyone is going to say. And a part of me wonders if, if OV is now waiting to decide if he's going to come back for another year based on any improvements that can be made to assist in that arena. So, I mean, we've been saying that for years that's what we need. We also absolutely need defenders. And I am not well versed enough to say we need this specific type of player. I just know that we need a more well-rounded, and like, there were too many times where we've got two right-handed D-men, and it's obviously jamming things up. We need to make sure that we have breadth so that, we can shuffle in and out as needed. It's hard to say whether I'm excited to see more from Liljegren because we haven't seen a ton of him yet. Hopefully he can be a part of that improvement. But I know that especially now with Sandin out, like we absolutely need depth in that arena, because it's so clear that one injury completely affects the rest of the team. And while that speaks to the importance of each player, we can't be so worried that one player's injury is going to completely derail the season. That is just not a good setup for wanting to be contenders. I mean, we saw it not obviously not this season, but the past season when Faravari got injured right before playoffs, and it was so obvious how much impact he has based on how immediately awful our defense was when he was out. And we really need a couple of players that can counterbalance that.
All right. So this can be well, final question. This can be short answer, or you can go on about it however you want. I don't expect more than a short answer either way. But you can explain yourself as much as you'd like. But basically, the elephant in the room, the question on everybody's mind, if you're a Washington Capitals fan, from what you know of how the game of hockey goes, does Alex Ovechkin return next year or not?
I have changed my mind on this so many times throughout this season. Right now, I say yes, he returns. I think that the surge that we saw at the end of the season, and the way we were playing better, once Huddy got injected into the power play, and that I think that that youthful joy. Ovi loves the locker room. He loves the game. I think he was trying to, and is likely still trying to decide if his body can still handle it, because we all know, obviously, he's gotten way slow compared to the past and compared to most players, and we are so used to the whole Ovi is indestructible. And considering last year when he was only out, 16 games after a broken bone, that just kind of reforms that opinion in our minds. But the fact is, he is 40 years old, and I have no doubt that his body is in a lot of pain more often than not. And he is famous for never, revealing injuries until long after the fact. So I think that he was probably feeling it a lot more towards the end of this season, and is now like, okay, do I want to give myself another year of this? And I know he didn't want the big farewell tour. I think, especially with all the media surrounding the Great Chase last year, he probably was just like, okay, this is a lot, and it's distracting the team, and I don't want that. But at the same time, I can't imagine that he wants to quit on a year where we missed playoffs by one win, well, 2 wins, or a win and an overtime loss, whatever. But I can't imagine that he wants to go out that way, given the general rejuvenation the team saw at the end of the year. So my vote, or my thought, and whether that's colored by my personal hopes or not, I'm saying yes, he's coming back.
Fair enough. Okay, so finally, aside from what we addressed during this question and answer, is there anything else about the team, anything at all that comes to mind that that you noticed, that you think is worth discussing? I mean, anything at all that you'd like to take some time and discuss.
Um, I mean, I think that I think it's going to be interesting to see how the locker room evolves, because this team has, been very vocal about how close they are, and you know, I loved, like, Wilson has been talking about how, like, OV has been kind of preparing him for the last like 5 years on, like, this is what you're going to need to do someday, like, and I love how kind of broad their leadership core is, and that they all kind of work to support each other. And I think that that's going to be important as we get more of these young kids come in, um and honestly, that's part of why I really hope Obi comes back for one more year, is just to, like, he's such a presence in the locker room, and, like, everyone talks about how much fun he makes things and how much joy he injects into it. And I would love to just, like, get, just get, like, one one more season of that, while we have these, young guns coming in and injecting the, like, speed and the life and, like, the like joy and zest of wow, this is still, like, new and exciting. Um, and I hope that we get a little bit more of that. I'm super, super excited to see more of the big boy line next year. I'm fully obsessed with the Pro Ty Wilson line. And I really hope that that sticks around and uh, continues to look good and better as they get used to each other. Um, so I think it's more like I think it's mostly like I want all the good vibes, but, like, with still the culling of the players that, need new environments, and the injection of uh new life into the lineup.
Interesting. All right. So let's go ahead and end this on something uh, of a humorous note. I've been quite serious through all this, but let's last little bit of question. So I noticed just now your answer. Is that what you're going to refer to the Protus Brothers Wilson line, the big boy line? Is that your name for them?
That's definitely what I've been calling it in my head. I mean, when Tom Wilson is the smallest guy on the line, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, so it's been the big boy line in my head.
All right, very good. So that our time is at an end, and I think now that we're at the end, you, the listener, if you've been paying attention, quite a lot of material to ruminate on, to think about. Um, all I am looking for here is someone or anyone that has been paying attention to how this team has been doing from start to finish. If you have opinions that match or differ from anyone that we've had here, you are welcome to come on with me and share that. Your voice needs to be heard. That is this platform. That is what we do here.
And jumping on that, I think one of the best things about, well, both being on the podcast with you and being part of the chat on Facebook, is that genuinely no one is a jerk when you disagree. There are lots of us in there, and we disagree all the time. And I actually love it when we disagree, because it makes me think about things from a perspective that I probably would not have was I not in the chat and having those conversations. But I love so much that there is just basic human respect in that chat room, and that everyone, even when they're disagreeing, it's on like an objective basis, or it's on an opinion basis, not like, oh, you're a terrible person. It's all very, very good spirited. So I just have to say how much I appreciate that, because that is so often not the case these days.
And I appreciate hearing that. And so our platform, as it were, our platitude rather, is that if you're going to attack something, attack the argument, not the person. So that pretty much holds true with how we carry ourselves, and we try to maintain that as much as possible, and hopefully that appeals to you, because as Jini said, too many forums, chat rooms, sports groups tend to veer off into that that vitriol, that venom, that awful feeling that well, you're just stupid, and it just degenerates into just terrible name calling, and
Yeah.
we're not about that. All right. So, okay, Jini, thank you so much for doing this. Lots of great information again there. And final reminder. So if you're listening to this and it makes you want to get in there and answer my questions, and take up the mantle and say, well, I watched this team and I think this is what happened. And this is what should be focused on, and things of that nature. You can participate. We welcome it and we encourage it. We love for all caps fans to do it. If you'd like to do so, please contact me on Facebook or Twitter at BLULINER98. Okay, so we're going to sign off here, and thank you very much for being a part of this.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.